Welcome back, my dear students. Today we will discuss the basic fundamentals of genetics, the science that explain how various traits are passed from parents to offspring and how genes and chromosomes shape every living being. We learned about dominant and recessive alleles, genotype and phenotype, and how Mendel's experiments with pea plants revealed the laws of heredity that still guide modern biology. From monohybrid and dihybrid crosses to the role of sex chromosomes and mutations, we must learn how genetics connects all forms of life through inherited information. It's truly the blueprint of life that can explain both similarities and variations in different living organisms. Genetics, some basic fundamentals. This is the name of the chapter, and the syllabus and scope of the syllabus are given in this presentation. Three laws of Mendel, monohybrid cross, dihybrid cross, important terms like gene, allele, heterozygous, homozygous, dominant, recessive, mutation, variation, phenotype and genotype. Now first of all, then we should know the sex determination in human beings and sex-linked inheritance and mutation. What is genetics? Genetics is basically the study of heredity, transformation of body features, such as both similarities and differences from parents to offspring, and the laws relating to such transmission. Whenever a child is born, we should ask how family members compare a child's features with his parents, his or her parents. These traits are governed by genetics and Mendel's laws. The importance of chromosomes, genes, and heredity traits in human. Gregor Johann Mendel, which is known as the father of genetics, and he was an Austrian monk and father of genetics. We know. So the brief biography include he was born in 1822 in a peasant family, and his death was in 1884. He studied science and mathematics at the University of Vienna. He wanted to be a teacher, but he failed in the school examination. Uh, but later, he became a monk and performed experiments on inheritance in garden peas. His work is now known as Mendel's laws of inheritance. Two modern applications of genetics. First of all is the genetic engineering, altering an organism's genes by introducing new genes. The image showing the application of genetic engineering, example production of human insulin using genetically modified organisms. The second application of genetics is the genetic counseling. It explains that newly married couples can consult specialists to avoid undesirable hereditary traits or genetic disease like hemophilia or Bledard's disease, thalassemia, defective hemoglobin, sickle cell anemia, abnormal hemoglobin. Heredity, transmission of genetically based characteristics from parents to offspring or the genetic constitution of an individual. Phrase like begets like means young ones resemble their parents. Examples include cat produce cats, not dogs. Mango seeds grow into mango trees. Human give birth to humans, not apes. Bacteria reproduce their own kind generation after generation. So the concept is although offspring resemble their parents, small differences always exist and these are called variations. Variation in populations include, and it states that humans as a species share many traits identifying Homo sapiens. However, individuals show differences even within the same race or tribe. So the definition of variations are the small differences among individuals of the same species are called as variations. Characters and trait. Characters, any inheritable feature of an organism is the character, and traits are the alternative forms of a character. The chromosomes are the carriers of heredity. The two chromosomes here, male sex chromosomes X and Y, showing chromatids and centromere in each. These are the characters and traits. Color of eyes, the character. Traits can be brown or blue. Hair shape, this is the character. Trait can be curly or straight. Character is eyebrow. Trait is heavy, bushy or thin. Character is hair on middle joint of fingers. Traits is growth or no growth. Color vision, normal or red green color blindness. Tongue rolling is the character, rolling into U-shaped or not. Hand use, right-handed or left-handed, skin color, earlobe, lips, Rh blood group. These are the characters, and this can be different types of traits like Rh positive or negative, lips thick or thin, earlobe free or attached, skin color whether normal or albinism, albino, hand use, right-handedness or left-handed. These are the genetic characters. Chromosome number, we know each species has a fixed number of chromosomes in its cells. Humans have 46 chromosomes. There is a table showing different organisms and their chromosome numbers. Human chromosomes can be arranged in pairs in order of their size and shape, which is called as karyotype. This is the image of the arrangement of human chromosomes. Chromosomes become visible during cell division in the metaphase stage, and each chromosome has two chromatids joined by centromere. Chromosomes in homologous pairs. Chromosomes occur in pairs in even numbers, and humans have 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes, one from each parent. The two chromosomes of each pair are similar in size and shape, so they are called as homologous chromosome. So what is the definition of homologous chromosome? A pair of corresponding chromosomes of the same shape and size obtained from each parent. The two main categories of chromosomes are autosomes and sex chromosomes. Human chromosomes can be divided into autosomes. Here pairs 1 to 22 are identical in both sexes, and sex chromosomes, the 23rd pair, they are different in males and females. So in females XX pair, this is similar, and in males XY pair, that is dissimilar. So the Y chromosome is much smaller than the X chromosome. Sex determination, whether son or daughter, the egg ovum always contains one X chromosome. Is the diagram showing here. The sperms can be of two types, X bearing sperm and Y bearing sperm. It's a matter of chance which sperm among X bearing and Y bearing sperm fertilize the egg which contains only X chromosome. So there are two possible outcomes: X bearing sperm plus X egg, it will form XX, means female or daughter, or Y bearing sperm when meet the X egg, it will called as XY, that is male son. Hence the father determines the sex of the child because only sperm can contribute either an X or Y chromosome. All eggs are alike, each with an one X chromosome, but the sperms are either with X or Y, 50% each. So this type of sperm that fertilizes the egg determines whether the child will be male or female. So the chromosomes are basically the carriers of genes. Every species has a fixed number of chromosomes, but species differences depend on genes located on these chromosomes. Examples include lion and cat, both have 38 chromosomes, yet differ in appearance, color and behavior because of differences in gene arrangement. The word gene was coined by Wilhelm Johannsson in 1909 to describe what parents pass to offspring. Genes and chromosome. Genes and genome. Genes are specific DNA segments on chromosomes that determine hereditary traits. Humans have about 19,000 genes. Chromosome 1 has the largest number of genes, that is approximately 2968, and chromosomes Y has the fewest, that is 231 genes. So the genome is the entire DNA complement of an organism and include all genes and non-coding regions. So genes and their alleles. Every gene has two alternative forms known as alleles, which produce different expressions of the same character. Examples: tongue rolling, the ability to roll the tongue into a tube shape. So one allele it is for rolling, and there is two allele then for non-rolling. Dominant and recessive alleles. Out of two alleles of a gene, one is dominant, which is super ruling, and the other one is recessive or submissive. So example, tongue rolling, most people can roll their tongue, it's a dominant trait. Some cannot, this is a recessive trait. If a person has both capital R smaller, only the dominant allele expresses itself. So the concept is each individual has a pair of chromosomes with genes at the same position or locus. Dominant gene expressed by capital letter, and recessive gene is represented by small letter. A recessive gene expressed only when both alleles are recessive. Alleles are the alternative forms of genes located at the same position of a homologous chromosome. Dominant allele expresses itself regardless of the presence of another allele. Example is the tallness of the pea plants. A recessive allele expressed only when both plants are recessive, and example dwarfism plus in pea plants. So remember, chromosomes as a whole can neither be dominant nor recessive. Genotype and phenotype, the three possible genetic studies for any trait, that is tongue rolling, capital R, allelic combination is both dominant, phenotype is tongue roller, uh, capital R smaller, one dominant and one recessive, it is also tongue roller, and both smaller is both recessive, so it is non-roller. So observation, tongue rollers may have capital R or capital R smaller, and non-rollers have only smaller only. আচ্ছা, এরপর কি বলছে ডেফিনিশন, জিনোটাইপ ইজ দ্য জেনেটিক কনস্টিটিউশন অফ অ্যান অর্গানিজম আর ফিনোটাইপ ইজ দ্য অবজারভেবল ক্যারেক্টারিস্টিক রেজাল্টিং ফ্রম দ্য জিনোটাইপ টু genetic terms homozygous and recessive terms a capital R smaller which is dissimilar pair of alleles. So from parents to offspring, tongue rolling. It's a pedigree family chart shows the two parents both tongue roller, solid symbols here. So among three children there are two rollers, the solid symbols, and the one is non-roller. So here the square indicates the male, girls the circles indicate the female, and solid symbol this is the character present, or hollow symbol character absent. Key observation explained, both parents are rollers but one child is non-roller, meaning that the parents are maybe heterozygous. The non-roller capital R smaller child must have received smaller alleles from both parents. The chart demonstrates dominant and recessive inheritance of tongue rolling. So now we should study about the Punnett square. It's a diagram used to show how alleles from parents combine in offspring to produce different genotypes and phenotypes. The Punnett square basically explains inheritance using a cross between homozygous and heterozygous parent. And in this here the gametes produced in case of male produce only R and female produce both capital R and small r as they are heterozygous. Male parent are capital R capital, they are homozygous roller, and female parents are capital R smaller, so they are heterozygous. So among the offspring there is 50% capital R and 50% capital R smaller. The 50% is homozygous dominant and 50% is heterozygous dominant. So the additional hereditary traits we can explain with the help of this Punnett square with these characters is the polydactyly, means extra fingers or toes, which is a dominant character, and albinism it's the absence of pigment or recessive character. So camptodactyly, that is inability to strengthen little finger, is known as a dominant character. Attached ear or free earlobes, family A here showing that may both parents have free earlobes, their children so both free and attached earlobes, indicates parents are heterozygous. Family B, both parents have attached earlobes and our children also have attached earlobes, so both parents are homozygous recessive. So here an extreme case of polydactyly, the latest world record, a real life example of polydactyly, extra fingers or toes, describes a Akshat, a 15-month-old boy from Berili, Uttar Pradesh, born with 7 fingers per head, 30 toes per foot, so 34 digits total. So he was operated at AIIMS New Delhi in June-July 2011 to remove extra digits. This condition is hereditary and dominant in inheritance. Sex-linked inheritance. Sex-linked inheritance is basically the appearance of a trait caused by an allele present exclusively on either the X or Y chromosome. X-linked inheritance is include many disorders like hemophilia, color blindness, and X-linked recessive traits, meaning they occur more often in males than in females. So the reason males have only one X chromosome, XY, show a single defective allele on the X chromosome causes the disease. Females XX need two defective alleles to show the condition, hence there are usually carriers. The color blindness affects the ability to distinguish red and green color. Males with the defective allele XCY are color blind, where females with one defective and one normal XXC are carriers. Hemophilia, it affects blood clotting. Homozygous recessive females and affected males, that is XHY, are at risk for severe bleeding. Female sufferings are very rare here. Crisscross inheritance, mothers to son and father to daughter. In X-linked inheritance, genes can pass in a crisscross pattern. A carrier mother may transmit the defective allele to her son, who becomes affected, An affected father can pass the defective X chromosome to his daughter, making her its carrier. Example, mother, this is a carrier XEX, and father normal XY. Colorblind son হচ্ছে XCY, father colorblind XCY, and mother normal XX, carrier daughter is the XX. So here the three cases here showing. The case 1 where the normal father is crossing with colorblind father, and in case 2 their carrier mother is crosses with normal father. So think a possibility of a marriage between carrier woman and a colorblind man. Is there any possibility of the birth of a colorblind daughter? Work out the progeny in the following Punnett square. This is your task. Gregor Johann Mendel, you have already mentioned, was an Austrian monk, was regarded as the father of genetics. He conducted basically breeding experiments on garden pear Pisum sativum and discovered the basic principles of heredity. His findings became milestones in biology. Reasons Mendel selected garden pea: many varieties available in alternative forms of a character, varieties available in pure forms that breed true. Peas are normally self-pollinated, but cross-pollination can be performed artificially. Short lifespan, many generations can be obtained and studied easily. Monohybrid cross, example, Mendel crossed terminal flower plants with axially flowered ones. The F1 generation shows only axial flowers, that is dominant trait. Where F1 plants were self-pollinated, the F2 generation reappeared with both traits following Mendelian ratios. Monohybrid cross, that is single character study. Mendel crossed pea plants with contrasting traits of one character to observe inheritance patterns. So the case 1 showing the flower position, that is a cross between axillary flower and terminal flower. The case 2, there is a plant height, and tall plant and dwarf plant, and case 3 is among the seed shape, that is between round shape and wrinkled seed. Here the diagram is showing to describe the concept. Now you should know about the dihybrid cross, that's two pairs of contrasting characters. The topic explains how Mendel studied the inheritance of two traits simultaneously, that is seed shape and seed color in pea plants. So the parents, the pea generation, round yellow seeds were crossed with wrinkled green seeds. In F1 generation, all offspring had round yellow seeds showing both dominant traits, and in F2 generation, after cell pollination of the F1 generation plants, produced four types of phenotypes in the ratio 9:3:3:1. So 9 and 3 is the dominant character, and 3 and 3 is the recessive output. So the law 1 of the Mendel's experiment, law of dominance, states about the out of a pair of contrasting characters, one dominant expressed itself while the other or recessive remains hidden. Example, in seed shape, round capital R is dominant over wrinkled. Law of segregation or law of purity of gametes, the two members of a gene pair separate during the gamete formation and do not blend. Each gamete receives only one factor or allele, and law 3 showing the independent assortment when two or more traits are considered. The distribution of alleles of one character is independent of the other. This law is demonstrated by the random mixing of capital R smaller and capital Y smaller alleles during gamete formation in a dihybrid cross. So the application of Mendel's law, it helps in predicting the pair types and ratios of new combinations in offspring, useful in plant and animal breeding for developing better varieties of breeds. So Mendel's crosses, the diagram showing the Mendel's experiment involving a cross between capital T and small t. The F1 generation consists of all tall hybrid plants, capital T small t. When these hybrids were self-pollinated, the F2 generation showed 3:1 ratio, that is 3 tall plant and 1 dwarf plant. The F2 generation includes 1 pure tall, 2 hybrid tall, and 1 pure dwarf. So the mutation is basically defined as a sudden change in one or more genes or chromosomes altering hereditary material. Examples include sickle cell anemia, which is caused by a gene mutation that changes the shape of the red blood cells; radiation induced mutation, genetic changes caused by exposure to radioactive radiations as seen after the atomic bombing in Japan. So this is the summary of the topic: chromosomes and heredity, human chromosomes, genes and alleles, genotype and phenotype, sex-linked traits, Mendel's laws of heredity, important ratios, and after all, mutations. So my dear students, genetics is the fascinating science that tells us why we look the way we do from the color of our eyes to the shape of our nose. It's all about genes, chromosomes, and how traits are passed from parent to offspring. Today we learn how Gregor Mendel's people and experiments laid the foundation of heredity and how dominant and recessive genes work together to shape every living being. Remember, mutations create diversity and inheritance keeps life connection across generations. If you enjoyed and exploring the story of life science, uh, story of life science, if you enjoyed the experience story of life written in our genes, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fun and sex easy biology lessons. Keep everything, keep discovering, keep questions, and let your curiosity evolve just like our genes. See you in the next class. Thank you.